I still see the boardroom door swinging open, that instant of murky silence before Mr. Caldwell's voice cut through the hush like a broken shard of glass. It was Wednesday, 3 weeks after our big product launch, and as senior product manager at NovaForge Analytics, I'd spent the past 9 months pouring every ounce of energy I had into our flagship customer insights platform. Our interns worked late nights, our engineers patched every vulnerability, and the sales team lined up enterprise pilots like dominoes. So when Lucy, a bright, eager intern fresh out of college, accidentally pushed a half-finished feature live during a routine QA sweep, no one panicked. Except Mr. Caldwell. He'd always been a stickler for excellence, his tailored suits and graying hair giving him the gravitas of a corporate patriarch. But his temper was legendary, and that afternoon he'd chosen the grandest stage to unleash it, our weekly executive review, with the board, the CMO from one of our biggest clients, even a guest from the venture partners. I was halfway through my slide on user engagement metrics when the screen flickered, the carefully curated graphs dissolving into error codes, 500 module load failure stack trace, user_profile_insights. Null reference internal ID, LF238920, a collective gasp rippled around the table. My heart thudded like a frantic drum. The CMO, Miss Warner from Apex Retail, raised an eyebrow so high her forehead wrinkled. Is this planned? That was all Mr. Caldwell needed. He sprang from his seat, jarring the polished conference table surface. Planned? He barked, voice echoing off the floor to ceiling windows. This is an amateur hour catastrophe. Michael, he jabbed a finger at me. How could you let an intern push code without approval? Were you too busy patting yourself on the back to do your job? My cheeks flamed. I'd spent the entire night tweaking the engagement graphs. I'd reviewed every staging deployment. Lucy was supposed to work only on documentation. But in our hustle to meet the Q3 deliverable, someone had bypassed protocol. That someone wasn't Lucy. It was me for not enforcing the rules. I opened my mouth, wanting to explain, to defend her. No, to defend myself, but Mr. Caldwell cut me off with a sneer. Save it, he snapped. Next time, teach your interns the difference between a sandbox and production. I expect you to fix this by EOD, or we'll have a real crisis on our hands. His gaze swept the room as though daring anyone to object. The CTO, stoic as always, merely nodded. Miss Warner's perfectly manicured fingers tapped her notepad. The venture partner cleared her throat, unreadable. All eyes settled back on me, like lances aimed at my chest. I forced my voice steady. Understood, sir. We'll revert the deployment, run a hot fix patch, and validate every module by 6 p.m. The incident report will be on your desk by 4. His only response was to pivot sharply, so quickly, I thought he might tear a hole in the air. Make it so, he said, and marched out, heels clicking down the hallway. The door swung shut, leaving me alone with 6 pairs of critical eyes and the flickering error messages still mocking me on the screen. I felt hollow as the meeting resumed without me. Miss Warner diving into questions about timeline adjustments, the CFO probing budget impacts. But I sat in my seat like an imposter, heart pounding, mind racing, ears ringing with Mr. Caldwell's condemnation. When the meeting finally adjourned, everyone filed out, except the CTO, Priya Shah. She lingered by the door. Michael, rough spot, she said quietly. Let me know if you need support. I nodded, grateful but distracted. Thank you. Alone, I shut my laptop and stood. The corporate rug felt too small for my feet. I stepped into the hallway, where every polished tile gleamed like a spotlight on my failure. I found Lucy at her desk, head down, face pale as she stared at her screen. Her trembling hands hovered over the keyboard. I swallowed hard and approached. Hey, I said softly, can we talk? She looked up, eyes brimming. I'm so sorry, Michael. I thought I was in staging. I held up a hand. It's on me. I should have double-checked the deploy script. I left too much trust in process, not enough in oversight. I forced a small smile. Let's get this fixed, okay? Her shoulders eased slightly. Of course, I glanced at the time, 3:15 p.m. A 6-hour window to undeploy a broken feature, verify data integrity, and ensure clients saw no adverse effects. I texted my operations lead for immediate rollback and hot fix coordination, then cleared my throat. Lucy, I need you to document every step timestamps, outcomes logs. I'll handle the exec report. She nodded, relief flooding her expression. Together we plunged into damage control. Reversion scripts, rollback verification, QA testing. Every 5 minutes, my phone buzzed with status updates from the operations team. By 4:45 p.m., the broken module was offline, the system green, and I had a preliminary incident report drafted. I exhaled for the first time in hours. Lucy and I high-fived briefly, then I escorted her to the elevator. Go home, I told her. Get some rest. We'll debrief tomorrow. She hesitated. Do you think I'm fired? I shook my head firmly. This is on me. You'll be fine. Get out of here. She smiled, tears glimmering. Thank you. As the elevator doors closed, I felt both pride and exhaustion. I had protected my intern, regained control of the platform, and honored my promise to Priya Shah. But I also knew I needed to regain my own footing and face Mr. Caldwell again. I trudged back to my desk, cubicle walled in by pink sticky notes of future features, logged into Salesforce to send a message to Miss Warner and our other pilot clients. Subject: Incident Resolution Notice. Dear Miss Warner, yesterday's production incident has been fully rolled back and remediated. Our root cause analysis is attached, along with our 6-point plan to prevent recurrence. I apologize for the disruption and remain committed to your success. Warm regards, Michael Liu, Senior Product Manager. I hit send and felt a small weight lift. Still, one task remained: talking to Mr. Caldwell. But every time I thought of storming back into his office, pen poised to defend my team, I felt the sting of his humiliation, the cool detachment in his eyes. What I needed now was leverage, not another public dressing down. An hour later, I snuck away to the office kitchen, found the phone near the water cooler, and dialed the number I'd kept tucked in my wallet for emergencies. My mentor, Dr. Elaine Carmichael, the former SVP of Product at Nimbus Tech, who'd guided me when I transitioned industries. She'd retired 2 years ago and offered to be my sounding board if things went sideways. The line rang 3 times, and I nearly hung up, too tired, too close to tears. Then her warm, familiar voice answered. Michael? Hello, dear. Everything all right? I took a deep breath. Elaine, I messed up. Yesterday my intern deployed broken code in production. Mr. Caldwell humiliated me in front of the board, the CMO, the investors. I fixed it, but I need advice. I don't want to lose my career over one mistake. Her tone softened. Oh, Michael, I'm so sorry. But take heart, incidents happen. It's how you handle them that counts. Walk me through what you've done. I outlined the rollback, the client notifications, the improvements to our CI/CD process. She listened, approving at each step. Then she asked the question that made my pulse skyrocket. Have you shown initiative beyond the fix? A strategic proposal, perhaps? I hesitated. I have an idea for a preventive system, automated canary deployments, AI anomaly detection, but I haven't written it up. I worry he'll see it as overstepping. There was a pause. I felt panic coiling in my gut. Then Elaine said firmly, Michael, you saved their platform from disaster. You rescue their client relationships, and now you propose a future that prevents this from happening again. Show him you're not just reactive, you're visionary. Her words struck me like a bolt of lightning. A visionary, I whispered. Yes, she said. Compile a 1-page executive summary. Outline the risks, the solution overview, and the ROI. Send it to Caldwell and CC the CIO. Make sure they can't ignore your leadership. I exhaled, a grin cracking through my exhaustion. Thank you, Elaine. This is exactly what I needed. She chuckled. Glad to help. Now get off the phone and write it before you second-guess yourself. I promised I would and hung up, heart pounding with new resolve. I returned to my desk and opened a fresh document. Subject: Proposal, Proactive Deployment Governance Framework, to Richard Caldwell, Chief Product Officer CC. Priya Shah, CTO, from Michael Liu, Senior Product Manager. Date: Thursday, 3:45 p.m. Below I began to lay out bullet points. Incident recap and impact. Summarized yesterday's event. Impact metrics. Client satisfaction risk. Root cause: intern deployment into production, due to lack of automated guardrails. Proposed solution: introduce canary, release pipeline, automated rollback triggers, AI anomaly detection for build, deploy, monitor cycle. Team structure: outline cross-functional pod, with a dedicated deployment SME, rotating on-call. Costs and ROI: estimate implementation cost, $50K, projected savings and incident remediation, $200K/year, reduced customer churn risk, faster time to recovery from 6 hours to 15 minutes. Next steps: pilot in Q4, full rollout by Q1, training for interns and new hires, bi-weekly governance reviews. I typed with a speed born of adrenaline, as if I could outrun Mr. Caldwell's criticism with each keystroke. By 4:30, I attached change control diagrams, a timeline, and a block diagram of the architecture. I reread and refined the language until it felt crisp, confident. At exactly 4:45 p.m., I hit send. The message whooshed off into the corporate ether, CC'd to Priya Shah, the impartial, respected CTO. So Mr. Caldwell couldn't simply trash it in private. My phone buzzed almost immediately, an acknowledgement from Priya. Thank you, Michael. Let's discuss at our 5 p.m. sync. My chest swelled. She got it. I'd taken the humiliation and turned it into a leadership opportunity. Lucy's mistake had become a catalyst for strategic innovation, one none of the execs could dismiss. As I packed up to go home, tapping at my laptop bag, I felt the tension of the day melt. Lucy slipped by my cubicle. Michael, thank you. I know it was a mess, but you stood by me. I smiled. You learn from mistakes. Proud of how you helped fix it. She nodded, head high. I'll never forget it. I patted her shoulder. Tomorrow we'll start building that canary pipeline. She beamed. Can't wait. I left the office under a sky swirled with sunset oranges, my step lighter than when I'd arrived that morning. Mr. Caldwell's stinging words still echoed in my mind, but now they fueled me, not drained me. I'd responded not with anger, but with strategy, collaboration, and the vision of a safer future for our platform and team. Tomorrow, I'd stand before the execs again, not as the embarrassed product manager, but as a leader who turned a crisis into opportunity. And Mr. Caldwell would have to reckon with that simple phone call, not as a plea, but as the launch of a proactive plan he couldn't ignore. The next morning, I arrived at the Nova Forge office at 7:15 a.m., earlier than usual. My inbox already held 2 messages, a terse seen and noted from Mr. Caldwell, and a meeting invite from Priya Shah titled Deployment Governance Discussion at 9 a.m. I grabbed coffee from the break room, feeling both adrenaline and the low hum of nerves beneath it. 1. Stand up with DevOps. At 7:30, I slipped into the DevOps bullpen, where our SREs and build engineers thrived on dual monitors and a soup of Slack channels. I'd invited them for a quick sync. Nikhil, our principal SRE, looked up from a sea of terminal windows. Michael, is everything okay? I saw your late-night messages. I nodded. Last night's proposal went to leadership. I need your help fleshing out the canary pipeline and automated rollback triggers. I sketched roughly on a whiteboard. Canary deployment process. 5% initial traffic, monitor metrics, automatic promotion on healthy signals. Anomaly detection. Leverage our ML service to flag deviations in error rates, latency, and business KPIs. Rollback automation. If thresholds exceed, trigger automated undo of release and alert on call. Nikhil leaned back. We can build the canary in Jenkins, containerize in Docker Swarm. We'll need about 2 weeks to test on staging. I scribbled notes. Great, let's start with a prototype today. I'll feed you the spec doc. He grinned. On it. We'll ping you in an hour with initial Jenkins file. I felt the first spark of confidence. I wasn't alone. I closed the door behind me and headed to my desk, ready for the next challenge. 2. The governance meeting at 9 a.m. I arrived at the gleaming glass meeting room, where Priya and Mr. Caldwell already waited, along with 2 engineering directors and our head of security. The boardroom's long table reflected their stern expressions. Priya opened. Michael, thank you for your proposal. We've reviewed it. Caldwell, would you like to begin? He cleared his throat, folded the printed summary I'd provided. This addresses the immediate concern. Yes, but can we realistically implement ML-based anomaly detection in 2 weeks? He glanced at me. We can't risk more broken code. I met his gaze. We'll parallelize canaries in week 1, basic rollback automation in week 2, AI detection in week 3. The canaries alone will reduce blast radius by 80%. Priya nodded. Risk reduction is significant. However, we need governance too. She turned to Lisa Wu, head of security. Lisa, what about compliance? Can we get a compliance check on these pipelines? Lisa tapped her tablet. Yes, we'll perform pen tests on the pipeline. I estimate 5 days for full security sign-off, concurrent with week 2 testing. Mr. Caldwell pursed his lips. So EOD Friday for prototype. Meanwhile, we schedule no major releases. I open my calendar. We'll freeze feature rollouts in production until the canary is live. Patches only. I'll coordinate with the release manager. We'll catch up on features once safe deployment is guaranteed. He exhaled. Fine. But Michael, your reputation rides on this. I don't want another bust. I nodded. Understood. I'll send daily status updates directly to you and Priya. With that, the meeting broke. I left with the weight of ownership. This was my shot to prove leadership. 3. Rapid prototyping and testing back at my team's cubicles. I gathered Luce, our QA lead, and Jez, one of our veteran engineers. I have the spec, I said, handing over the document. We need end-to-end tests that simulate 500 concurrent users on the Canary release and monitor for 0.1% error increases. Luce raised an eyebrow. We have enough test scripts? We'll need to extend the suite. Jez cracked his knuckles. We can spin up a parallel test cluster, validate the rollback failover in staging. I'll handle the script modifications. Within the hour, they were debugging Jenkins pipelines, writing load tests, and wiring Prometheus alerts. I sprinted between their desks, offering clarifications, pushing minor commits, and stoking the urgency. By lunchtime, Nikhil pinged me. Nikhil, Canary Jenkins file ready. Pushing to Canary test branch. I sent a quick reply. Great, kicking off first run now. Watching the pipeline kick into action, containers spinning up, logs streaming, perf metrics populating dashboards, felt strangely exhilarating. I tracked the traffic split and tuned the baseline thresholds. Errors remained 0. The success message popped, promotion criterion met, Canary healthy at 5% traffic. I let out an uncharacteristic whoop. Jez whistled. Luce laughed. For a moment, I pictured Mr. Caldwell's surprised face. 4. Crafting the customer message. While the tech prototype ran, I turned to communications. I drafted an email to our top 5 enterprise clients, including Miss Warner, to prepare them for the new deployment process. Subject: upcoming deployment governance enhancements. Dear valued customer, in our ongoing commitment to service reliability, we are implementing a new deployment governance framework, including Canary releases, automated rollback triggers, and AI-driven anomaly detection. These enhancements will significantly reduce the risk of service disruptions. During the initial rollout next week, you may experience brief patch-only windows. We appreciate your understanding. Best regards, Michael Liu, Senior Product Manager. I shared the draft with Priya, who signed off quickly. I queued it for distribution at 3 p.m., ensuring our clients felt informed, not surprised. 5. Leadership check-in. On Wednesday afternoon, Priya and I scheduled a one-on-one. The pipeline looks good, she said, reviewing our dashboards from her tablet. But Caldwell needs to see tangible results in production. Can we do a live Canary by Friday? I nodded. We can. We'll target the internal monitoring microservice first, a lower stakes module. If that succeeds, we roll the Canary out to the user profile service. She folded her arms. Excellent. And Michael, your proactive approach has turned heads. Mr. Caldwell, though tough, respects tactical wins backed by data. She gave me a half smile. Keep going. Her endorsement felt like wind in my sails. I left her office energized. 6. Live Canary in production Friday morning. The team and I huddled around the staging monitors. My heart thudded as Nikhil executed the Canary script. Bash copy edit Jenkins build Canary deploy NT module. =sign user profile sup percentage =2. We watched the production logs, container spin-up events, gradual traffic shift to the Canary nodes. Prometheus dashboards lit up, latency stable, CPU usage steady, no increase in 5x. At 10% traffic, the AI anomaly detection module kicked in, running health checks on response distributions. Still no red flags. At the 15% mark, our rollback threshold was 0.2% error increase. We saw 0 errors. At 25%, still clean. At 50%, our logic flagged a slight uptick in dB latency, still within acceptable bounds, but a good test. Jez dialed back the scaling if needed. And at 60% traffic, our production baseline, we went green. I exhaled, almost stumbling back. Lucy and I high-fived, then confirmed one final control loop, setting new guardrails in the deployment pipeline to require Canary pass status before any Jenkins promotion. All tests passed. I stood and announced, Module user profile Canary release successful. Rolling out automated rollback to all critical modules starting next week. We cheered quietly. I quickly drafted an internal announcement. Subject, Canary Deployment 1.0 Success. Next steps team. The Canary deployment for user profile has completed successfully. Congratulations. We will extend this framework to all core modules by next Wednesday. Thank you for your tireless efforts. Michael, and hit send. 7. The board-level victory that afternoon. Mr. Caldwell called me into his office, uncharacteristically before the 4 p.m. checkpoint. I entered, expecting a brusque admonishment, but instead, he gestured for me to sit. He folded his arms, looking at me rather than his desk. Michael, I want to apologize for yesterday. His voice softened, the first time I'd heard genuine regret. I let my frustration, the board's frustration, spill over on you. Today's Canary deployment was a resounding success. Our failure domain has shrunk drastically. I blinked. Thank you, sir. He waved off my thanks. Thank you for leading this. You took ownership instead of crumbling. That's the kind of leadership we need. He stood, walked to the window overlooking the city. Tomorrow, you'll present this to the board. This framework, metrics, ROI projection. They're meeting with the VCs again next month. I want you to lead the technical portion. I absorbed his words, apology, recognition, promotion. I won't let you down. He turned, expression stern but proud. I know you won't. 8. Boardroom redemption Tuesday of the following week. I walked into the same boardroom where I'd once been humiliated. The polished table now bore fresh folders labeled Deployment Governance Framework. Caldwell introduced me. Ladies and gentlemen, our senior product manager, Michael Liu, will now present our proactive deployment strategy, ensuring system reliability and strengthening investor confidence. I clicked to my first slide. 1. Incident recap and impact. Brief summary of Lucy's deployment mistake in QA versus production. Business impact, potential client churn risk, reputation exposure. Then slide 2. Governance framework overview. Canary deployments. Phased rollout. 50% traffic. Automated rollback. Threshold triggers. Immediate failover. Anomaly detection. ML-driven real-time monitoring. Slide 3. Pilot success metrics. User profile module 05XX errors. 2 ms latency increase. Incident remediation time reduced from 6 hours 12 minutes. Slide 4. ROI projections. Implementation cost $75K. Estimated savings $300K/year in downtime avoidance, $200K in reduced support overhead. Investor confidence, improved SLA compliance, strengthened retention rates. Slide 5. Rollout plan. Q4, core module expansion, 5 modules. Q1, all modules plus training for new hires interns. Governance reviews, bi-weekly postmortems, quarterly board updates. I spoke calmly, framed challenges as opportunities, and answered questions with data-backed clarity. The board members leaned forward, nodding. Miss Warner from Apex Retail smiled. This is exactly why we trust NovaForge. Thank you. When I finished, applause broke out. Caldwell caught my eye, gave a brief nod that felt like a benediction. I'd transformed humiliation into triumph. 9. Career acceleration. In the weeks that followed, the framework rolled out across all microservices. Our incidents dropped to near zero, and our client satisfaction scores ticked up. Caldwell publicly credited me in the company newsletter. Michael Liu, champion of deployment excellence. Priya tapped me on the shoulder one afternoon. Word from the board, expect to see your name considered for Director of Platform Reliability. She winked. I smiled. From intern's mistake to canary champion to promotion candidate. All thanks to that one phone call with my mentor and the team's collaborative drive. 10. Passing it forward, 6 months later, I sat in my own seat in front of a fresh batch of interns, one of whom nervously hovered by the stand-up table. She'd just broken our test environment data model while experimenting with a new API call. I exhaled, recalling Lucy's fear. I laid a hand on the intern's shoulder. All right, let's fix this together. First, show me the patch you ran. Then we'll replay it in staging and you know the drill. She blinked and nodded, relief washing across her face. In that moment, I realized I'd become the leader I needed back then, someone who held her accountable but first offered a hand to lift her up. That evening, I walked out of the office building into a sky painted indigo. My phone buzzed. A text from Lucy. Lucy, hey Michael, just deployed patch on off service Canary. All green. Thanks for your leadership. Proud to be on your team. I exhaled and tapped back. Me. Great news. Proud of your work. Keep it up. I slipped the phone into my pocket and glanced up at the stars. A simple phone call changed everything from humiliation to euphoria, from fear to empowerment. I'd learned that leadership isn't about never making mistakes. It's about owning them, learning fast, and bringing others along with you. And as I walked into the night, I knew the next mistake wouldn't break me. Because now I had the tools, the team, and the resolve to turn every setback into a stepping stone.